Video Master John Curtis here, and I've got a good opening that you might try if you're a beginner. It's a bit wild. If you like attacking chess, this may well be the opening for you if you're having a bit of, not having such a great time, say playing the French defence or the Caro-Kann. You want to try something different against D4. Well, here is the Henning-Schara Gambit. And I found a really great game from the March 1978 Chess and Australia magazine. It's actually got myself on the cover. It's a bit of a promo here. That's the issue that I've found. As you can see, it's autographed in the top left-hand side. Or top right-hand side of the magazine by Grandmaster Ian Rogers himself, and that was me winning the Dunhill Open in Sydney's Martin Place way back when in 1978. Okay, this is also the year that Grandmaster Walter Sean Brown had a big win in Europe, won his first big Grandmaster tournament. So is a big year all round. Earlier, Grandmaster Walter Sean Brown had won the Australian Championship, went over to Europe, got his Grandmaster title, and later on won the US Open and all sorts of different things. Anyway, I'm going to show you the Henning-Schara Gambit. Here we go. Playing the two players featured in this game, analysed by the World Correspondence chess champion, the late Cecil John Sedgwick Purdy. If you haven't heard of him, CJS Purdy. More information is in the video description on the YouTube video. Right, playing the white pieces is Michael Woodhams. Michael Woodhams was an Australian Olympian, and not in basketball, no, it was chess. And Michael Woodhams was an Olympian, played chess for Australia, Chess Olympics, many times. And I always had the utmost respect for Michael Woodhams' play as a very solid, sound chess player. He's playing Dan Fardell, and Dan Fardell has adopted the Henning-Schara Gambit. We're going to get a wild game, so brace yourselves, sit down and get ready for impact, right? You might put on your oxygen masks or whatever you're wearing there. E6 was played, D4, E6. White played C4. Remember, white is Michael Woodhams from Western Australia, actually, from Perth, Western Australia. The home of Australian cricket. Black played D5. White played knight to queen, bishop 3. And now, this is the mark of the Henning-Schara Gambit, C5. White took the D pawn, and the bishop pawn, he doesn't take back here, but he actually took this pawn here and attacked the knight. Well, if you move the knight, well, black's got a comfortable game. So really your next move as white is forced. And the Henning-Schara Gambit offers black a prolonged initiative. Apparently at the time, this is before the advent of computers, it said it had never been refuted. That's what the World Correspondence champion Cecil J. Purdy said. Queen takes pawn, but we are talking about chess in 1978, which was quite a while back. Queen takes pawn, knight attacks queen. Straight away, black goes on the attack. He says, I've got to get something for my pawn. Now, you can't take the knight, can you? Because the queen, if you take the knight, queen will be able to capture the queen. So Michael Woodhams, in his being very, very cautious, is a very cautious player. He played queen to D1. He wants to retain the pawn. After all, he's protecting it with the knight and the queen. And now black just simply took the pawn. Well, Michael said, well, that's my pawn, I'm going to take that. So he took the pawn off, and now bishop d7. And that's on the principle of avoiding exchanges, right, when your opponent has or will have a cramped game. But bishop e6 is also good, as Grandmaster Rogers had played around about that time. Before he was a Grandmaster, and he won a nice game. White played pawn here. He thought, well, I don't want the knight coming in here and causing trouble, so I'm just going to play pawn here. It's a passive move, but I want to retain my extra pawn and just win the game. Black played knight attacks the queen. Right, so now you can see black has got 1, 2, 3 pieces developed, 3 minor pieces, okay? And white's got 2, vis-a-vis the queen and the knight on c3. The queen retreated to d1, and black simply played bishop to c5. White developed a knight. Remember, Bobby Fischer always said, develop your knights before your bishops. And now black played queen to e7, or queen to e2, queen to king 2. Here, white, Michael Woodhams, decided to play bishop to e2 and develop his pieces. He just wants a tight game. He says, I'm just going to castle, consolidate, and win the game with the extra pawn, because I can't see black threatening me at all. And this is Cimmerian's choice for white. Cimmerian was a noted analyst of the Henning-Schara Gambit, and obviously the world correspondence chess champion. CJS Purdy must have looked at his writing, because he's the one that put all the notes together for this game. Right, bishop to e2. And now look at this move, g5. He says, well, I'm not happy just to give you 1 pawn. He says, I'd like to give you another pawn, right? Would you like to take another pawn? And this would be dangerous to take that pawn. Would be dangerous because the rook castle would come straight down here. If you took this pawn off, the castle would come straight down here, be pressure immediately on the king side, and black make castle queen side, right? And kings would be on opposite sides of the board, and fire and lightning and destruction would rain all over the board, believe me. Anyway, white said, well, I'm not going to open up my king. I'll leave that pawn there. I'm happy to leave the pawn there. I'm just going to castle. Michael Woodhams was a solid player. I did say that. Cimmerian says about knight takes pawn. The world champion Cecil Purdy talks about an unclear position if you had taken the pawn. Black castle queen side. And now white says, oh, I don't know what to do here. I could get run over by a Mack truck. But I like a3. I like the idea of a3 and b4 if you can get that in. But white chose knight here. I think white would have been happy to exchange pieces. And black played this move, queen to e5. He centralizes all his pieces. And eyes the king, threatens the knight 3 times. He'll take it, but when he's ready, he's saying. He said, I don't want to take it right now, but I'll take it when I'm ready. And the world champion, Cecil Purdy, says, this seems to set white more of a puzzle than pawn to knight 5, given by Cimmerian as the trunk line or main line, right? White decides to return the pawn, okay? And white plays queen knight to knight 5, or knight to b4, knight on c3, knight on c3 to b5. Now black just simply attacks the knight. He says, what are you going to do about that? Because black wants activity. Henning-Schara Gambit, you've got to have piece activity. White plays knight takes knight, and he says, fine, I'm happy with that. Bishop took the knight, and white played knight back here, and he said, well, I've got an impregnable position. I don't believe you can get to my king. I can see you now. I understand you've got a good game and everything, but I'm threatening knight takes bishop with a winning game. So what are you going to do about that, Mr. Champion? Well, he says, well, I'm going to take your knight. And the pawn took back. And now he doesn't take with the queen because he doesn't want to change queens because the ending would be rather horrible, right? If you took that pawn with the queen, he could just simply change queens and pinch this pawn, and you'd have a horrible endgame. Or he could just change queens anyway. Maybe you can't take the pawn because of rook here, but right. But he'd still be winning. So rook takes pawn is the correct move. Okay, so it's attacking the queen. All black's pieces are active. Remember, black's still got 5 pawns. White's decided to give 1 pawn back. Maybe he felt the pressure or suspected something's wrong. He played queen to c2. Very good move. It's a sneaky move. What's he threatening? Well, he's threatening bishop takes pawn. He's threatening bishop takes pawn. And if you took a pawn back, queen takes bishop check. Maybe he's thinking along those lines. He also wants to play bishop e3 and chase that castle away. White played king to b8. He gets off the diagonal and he says, well, I'm the one attacking here. He says, I'm the one with all the centralised pieces and everything. White played rook to d1 and said, let's change pieces. I don't think that's a good idea. But he played rook to d1. He wanted to change pieces. And black played knight here. Right, so black's threatening a checkmate. Look at this. Check and mate. White played g3. He says, all right, then I don't believe in checkmate. I don't believe you can checkmate me. So black doubled the rooks. Right, doubled the rooks. And he says, well, I've got to get developed. But white's starting to notice now that he's got severe problems. In this position, rook takes, rook check is threatened. And if bishop takes, right, if bishop takes, right, it'll be queen checkmate, right? So the problem here is that white was playing safe, solid chess against the Henning-Schara Gambit, which a lot of players will do. And unfortunately, when he's decided to give a little bit of material back, he's had to develop further black's position. We're only on move 20. And now white's already in trouble. So he says, well, I'm going to take a rook off because I've got to take the pressure off. And black recaptures with the rook. White couldn't find a move. He looked and looked and looked and he couldn't find a defense. So he played f3. And now, in this position, there's a brilliant double exclamation mark, decisive move in the position. Do you want to see that move? I'll show you. It's rook here. Isn't that a beautiful move? Rook there. And when you move the rook here, you're threatening queen check here, right? Threatening queen check here. Okay, so you can't take this rook. Okay, so if you take that rook, you'll be checkmated. After pawn takes rook, queen check there, you at least lose your queen, because if you went here, it'd be checkmate there, right? It'd be checkmate there if you went there. And of course, if you went forwards, bishop takes pawn check would win your queen, and that wouldn't be very nice. So he played rook to king 5. See what happened. White said, well, I'm going to try to hold on here. So he played bishop to d1. And now in comes this check again. He gives him this check. Marvellous check. And then the king said, well, now I can defend. I'm defending. I'm going well now. I'll be okay. And then, bang, he plays this move. Rook here. And he's attacking this bishop. And he's threatening another checkmating line with queen check here. Right? And queen takes pawn check. In the mating line, you'll mate this king. White played king here. He says, I'm going to go and try to hide. I'm going to try to hide amongst the pawns and the knight. And after all, you know, I'm a dangerous player. You've got to give me respect. And Black just said, well, no, I'll give you a check instead. And the king went back to knight 2. And White simply just took the bishop for nothing. So now Black's just a piece up with a mating attack. What a marvellous game of chess. 27 moves, beating an Olympic chess player in the Australian Championship, right? So that was just something special. And the game, of course, was between Michael Woodhams and Dan Fardell, right? There's one other game I could show you. I'll just give you one extra game, a special game. Here we go. I'll give you one extra game. I did it on my stream, so I'll show it to you. Right. And we're going to go back in time again to Korchnoi Spassky match, right? And it's been analysed by the World Correspondence chess champion CJS Purdy, again in this magazine, signed by, autographed by Grandmaster Ian Rogers, with me on the cover. There it is. There you go, that's me. Way back when, winning a tournament. I won an item of pure gold that day. Pure gold it was. The cigarette lighter. I didn't smoke. I won 2 of them. I gave them away. Okay, here we go. Korchnoi is playing the black pieces. In the match, Korchnoi Spassky. Pawn to queen bishop 4, pawn to king 3, knight to queen bishop 3, pawn to queen, whoops, pawn to queen 4, pawn to queen 4, whoops, knight to queen bishop 3, pawn to queen 4, pawn to queen 4, bishop to king 2, knight to bishop 3, get your knights out before your bishops. Everyone was listening to Bobby Fischer. Knight to bishop 3. Knight to king bishop 3 is developing. Preparing to castle. White throws the bishop over there. Spassky used to like to do that as well. So I think Korchnoi is using a bit of a line on Spassky, giving him a bit of his own medicine, so to speak. Bishop knight 5. Black castles. A safe, solid position. Well known to theory. White played pawn to king 3. Pawn to king rook 3. He just chases the bishop away. And the bishop moved back 1 square. All this has been seen before by these protagonists. B6 was played. It's Tartakower's defence. It was a favourite line of Boris Spassky. So Boris Spassky playing the black pieces, and he's playing Tartakower's defence. So he's very happy here. Now white played this move, rook c1. By deferring pawn takes pawn, instead of pawn takes pawn, by deferring pawn takes pawn, white avoids lines in which black's queen bishop comes to king 3. So if you take the pawn will recapture and the black bishop will actually go to e6. Okay. So, but this, because he's deferred it with rook c1, black actually chooses bishop to b7. And that's the little novelty that took place at the time. And now white just simply played bishop takes knight. Bishop takes bishop. Now he liquidates the pawns in the centre and plays b4 to stop this c5 move, you see. And at the time it was an innovation between these two great players, Korchnoi and Spassky. They're fighting for the world title, no doubt, or they're fighting to play for the world title, but it's the Korchnoi-Spassky match. Bishop to king 2 was played. Oh, so pawn to bishop 3 was played. He just keeps these pawns tight. White just played bishop e2. He's happy to get this moving quickly because he wants to castle. Knight to d7. And white, see this knight hasn't got good moves, squares to go to. White castles. And now, in this position, black plays a5. He says, well, I'm going to try to strike. I'm not happy with the pawn structure over there. I'd like to eliminate a pawn, maybe get a target. But look what Korchnoi plays. He plays b5 because he's prepared this. He's prepared this opening especially. He would have known everything about Spassky and how he plays chess, and what his mentors and minders would have been preparing, his coaches, right? Because we're going back to the days of the old Soviet Union now. Pawn to knight 5. Pawn bishop 4 was played. He pushed past. And white simply played pawn takes pawn. Black played knight takes pawn. And now, can you see the isolated d pawn in the middle of the board? Okay. White played knight to d4. And now black played queen to d6. White simply played bishop to g4. And the whole idea is to stop the rook coming here to this square. Right? Stop the rook getting to that square to protect the knight and stuff like that. Because that's an open file. And we always talk when we're analysing chess about the importance of controlling the file. So white wants to control the file by stopping black countering on that file. Black played king rook to d8. White played rook here. This looks like a hidden sort of move, doesn't it? Rook to king 1. But again, I think at this stage it's still all preparation. Knight to e6 was played. And now look at this. Bishop takes knight. Pawn takes bishop. And a move that was most unexpected. The whole gallery would have gasped. Knight to c6. And it is difficult. It is difficult to believe that this forces an advantage in all variations. But it's also difficult to disprove. So when the knight goes there, have a look at the bar on the side of the board. The bar on the side of the board says that in this position it's equal. So what a brilliant move. And now Bishop's got no future. Once the knight's there, you either take it or you never take it. So he took it, the pawn took the bishop back, and now in this position you can't play queen takes pawn. You can't play queen takes pawn because after queen takes pawn, knight here, and he'll bust your king side wide open, right? So not only will white have the file, right, but he'll also have the queen check to come in and get your king as well. Okay, so he doesn't take that, he takes the knight instead of taking the pawn. And we're going to see something very interesting later on in this game. White played rook takes bishop. He plays rook to c8. He wants to get his pawn back. White simply holds on to the pawn. And now these pawns start moving, right? The d pawn starts moving. He's going to push the d pawn to hopefully deflect the rook, deflect the castle off the c file, so that Spassky playing back, so that he can push his pawn straight down the guy's throat, right? But no, look who's pushing pawns down the throat. Pawn hits rook. And timing is really important here. You'll see that later in the game. Rook here was played, right? And now black's got 3 pieces on the pawn. Black is now threatening to take the pawn. So white, this is why timing is so important, white protects it. But now he's going to try to get you off the protection by playing the pawn, pushing the d pawn through. And now rook hits queen. It's just the timing's got to be perfect here. It's got to be absolutely perfect. The queen centralizes here. And now in this position, have a look at the bar on the side of the board. White plays this move. Right? The evaluation bar says the position's equal. It's amazing. You got the exclamation mark from the World Correspondence chess champion for that move, queen to b1. The pawn pushes through. You think, oh, hold on. How are you going to win this? The pawn's coming through. Well, he took the knight pawn. Evaluation bar says it's still equal. But the pawn's coming through. What are you going to do there? Well, he played rook here. And now, black captured a pawn. Queen takes pawn. Suddenly, white's winning. And it sets an outstanding trap. It appears that white could now win easily by playing queen here. Doesn't that look like you can win, queen here? Because how do you stop the queen takes rook check? How do you stop the queen after queen here? Well, I'll show you. After queen to knight 7, the queen will attack your rook. And then if you take the rook with check, the king will go here, right? And then your only move is queen check, and you're lost. King takes queen, pawn equals check, king to rook 2, and now rook here with an extra castle, right? So it looks like you win. But then you think, oh, white's winning. He's got an extra castle now. No, he's not winning. Look at this, queen here. Threatening queen takes rook check. So black can actually leave this castle here. And he's threatening queen takes rook check. And now white's got no defence. There's no defence. There's no defence at all. If you take that pawn, it's just check and checkmate. Right? Right. But white found this move, right? Korchnoi finds this move instead. That was a tempting trap, wasn't it, queen here? But he finds this move. Pawn there. Pawn to h3. Now the queen goes and attacks the rook. And it looks like, as the world champion says, it looks like black wins, right? Because he's on the castle and you can't save it. But it's all an illusion, he says. You can just take that off. And now when the rook takes the rook, you play queen hits rook. So even though you've got white's got is a castle down, he's got the queen to knight 7. It now works. Like before, there was a little trap there, right? A big trap, actually. But Korchnoi's found this variation. Rook on queen 7 went back to queen 1. That's the only move. And the castle, the pawn takes rook, check, rook takes. And now look at this move, rook to bishop 7. And you can't save this pawn easily, can you? You're all tied up. And white, the difference in this position is white's pawns are good and black's pawns are bad, and the king is a bit vulnerable. So the queen had to check. The king went here. And now he has to push this pawn to protect against the check. It's the only move. But then white just simply plays queen takes pawn, and we have a winning game. The queen races back to protect the king and also threatens the pawn. So now you can't win this pawn without losing this one or getting a check, big check. So white plays pawn bishop 4. And this is the way white wins. The queen went to bishop 1. He says, oh, I'll just hang around here for a while. I might be able to get a draw. He says, no, you can't. I'm going to play rook over here. He said, because you can't put your rook behind your passed pawn. So the rook can't go behind the passed pawn because the queen and castle are on there. So this pawn's just going to fall, and white's going to have 4 pawns to 2 pawns. Black played queen attacks rook, and white just played queen here. He says, hey, well, don't forget about the checkmate. So he says, oh no, I won't forget about that, so I'm going to protect my pawn and protect against the checkmate. So he said, all right, you do that. I'm going to come over here and threaten your castle. So now he's threatening the castle. But he only made this move made that move to just reach the time control. Black played rook to king bishop 1. The secret is to play pawn here and cut the queen off from the protection, and then that way you can't stop the checkmate. Right? So white played pawn to king 4. Oh, if you take the pawn, it looks like a free pawn, doesn't it? But then pawn here wins because your queen can't protect your king. All right, so if you take that pawn, pawn here, it cuts your queen off. So you can't take the pawn. So he played queen here. And now, if you push this pawn too early, queen takes pawn check is a draw, right? Or it might be a win. It's a win for black, right? But he pushes this one instead. He cuts the castle off the action. And now black says, all right, well, I've got to go for your king. Pawn to rook 4. And white simply plays rook takes pawn because there's no threats. Black played queen to d7. And now queen here. So he's got the 4 pawns to 2. White played queen here. Probably wants to go here and get a check or something. White played rook to rook 6. Rook to bishop 2. He wants to hold his pawn with the bishop, with the rook. And now white simply played rook here. Queen to queen 1. He went back there to protect. And black played pawn there. He says, I could take this pawn now. He says, I could take that pawn. The pawn moved forwards. And white just simply played pawn takes pawn. And with that move, Boris Spassky resigned to Victor Korchnoi. What a great game. It was a Queen's Gambit declined. The Korchnoi-Spassky match. It was a very, very important game for opening theory at the time. Okay? So if you come across that certain position, don't forget it. Don't forget in the opening. Here it is here. Oh, no, that's the Henning-Schara. That's the Henning-Schara, is it? Yeah, that's the Henning-Schara game. Anyway, but I just thought I'd give you that extra game from Boris Spassky and the great Victor Korchnoi. People always remember the world champions. They don't quite remember who comes second, right? But Victor Korchnoi was one of the greatest players that ever lived. So don't hesitate to go up and look up Victor Korchnoi in chessgames.com greatest players, right? We look up top players, we can see Victor Korchnoi. There he is, the great Victor Korchnoi. He was a Soviet and later Swiss grandmaster who achieved nearly every possible chess success in a 70-year chess career from 1945 to 2015, other than a world championship. He played in 10 candidates tournaments over nearly 30 years from 62 to 91, winning 2 but never becoming champion. Korchnoi was also a 4-time Soviet champion and 5-time Swiss champion, winning his last of the latter in 2011 at the age of 80. There you go. He was 80 years of age. He won the Swiss championship. That's no mean feat. There we go. And that was the great Victor Korchnoi. There's a lot more about Victor Korchnoi. And as you can see there, there's some great players there. It's Korchnoi playing there, seated on the left-hand side. And you can see he's being watched by Tigran Petrosian, the great Tigran Petrosian, and Jan Hein Donner, Grandmaster Donner, on the right-hand side. The Tigran Petrosian was a great world champion, one of the greatest Russian world champions. There we go. There's Victor Korchnoi at an older age. But one thing about Korchnoi, he had an indomitably powerful fighting spirit. And he struck fear into his opponents. And that's him giving a symbol in 2011 as he's aging. He left a great legacy to chess, did our Grandmaster Victor Korchnoi. We salute you, sir. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please give the video the thumbs up. If you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe to my YouTube videos. And I hope I could drop out another video shortly. Thank you, and goodbye now, and God bless you all.